Welcome back to the 5 Reasons Gambling Show, Tuesday, May 9th. Continuing to work at building this up. We appreciate you tuning in. We're going to talk about Bettor Edge and talk about the competitions that happened last night and the competition that is going on tonight for the NBA. Definitely excited to see a Heat dub last night, and we'll break down some of the action from that game. But before I do that, I want to talk about Bettor Edge. It is my favorite gambling platform. It's peer-to-peer marketplace. It's different than your average sports book. You're not betting against the book. You're betting against other people. Therefore, there are no fees, no VIG. All that money is staying within the pockets of the bettors. So I definitely want to make sure people understand how that works. That's why we do this show, show you the marketplace, show you the competitions, lots of different ways to get involved, sides, totals, props, futures, everything's in there. All different types of sports, NBA, MLB, NHL, EPL, PGA, college basketball when that's in session, MLS, UFC, NFL when we get back to football. Basically, every single sport you could possibly want to bet on is there. And it's just continuing to get better and better. Greg and those guys are doing a great job of building up the platform. I definitely recommend it. And we can give you an opportunity to get $20 for free when you sign up using the code bettoredge.com/5RSN. It's at the bottom of the screen if you need that. Again, $20 from Ethan Skolnick. I say this every single episode. If you can get $20 out of Ethan's pocket, definitely take advantage of it and use it on Bettor Edge. You can use it to join our competitions, bet it on the marketplace, whatever you want to do with the $20, it is yours. So first of all, I want to look back at yesterday. Thank you, Ray, for coming on your birthday. Ray did not do too well in the competition. I will not throw out his record in the competition, but we'll have him back on. He can redeem himself. Maybe he was distracted with his birthday events and whatnot. But competition last night, we did Monday game 4s. We had 13 people join, which is great. $65 in the pot, only $5 to join. And the winner of the competition was a guy named Benjamin Hardy is his username. He went 8-2, which is fantastic. Actually, 3 people made money, even though he had the best record. Some guy named Lefty Leif, I think he goes also by Greg Sylvander. He went 7-2-1. And then Heisenberg went 7-3 to beat my 6-3-1. And this was a pacer competition, so all you had to do was beat me. So I beat most people, and getting 6 wins is actually pretty good, obviously. 6 out of 10 and not getting any money out of this, 60% batting average. And so that's going to be my bad beat right there. That's just disappointing. I was actually 5-0 coming out of the Heat game. So I was on top of my picks. I was feeling good. I was going to start talking trash. I had the over in the Heat game. I had the Heat money line. I had Randall over his rebounds. I had Bam over his rebounds. And I had Jimmy under 1.5 threes, 5-0 going into the late game. Warriors spread, +3. Looking good until late. They collapsed, lost by 3, so I got to push. Also had the Warriors money line, so I doubled down. That hurt. LeBron to have over a half of a block, basically to get a block, another cash on that one. LeBron under 26.5 points. He finished with 27 points. Another bad beat. And then Steph Curry over 4.5 threes. I think he had 2, but he was not close on that one. So really, in my mind, I definitely should have had one more with LeBron. He got a late free throw. He had 23 going into the fourth quarter, and I actually cashed on another site with 27.5 on a player prop. But in this competition, I'm not going to complain too much. 6-3-1 is good. I won the other day, and it's good to see the viewers getting some cash out of that. So we'll break down this competition going on today. Today it is a game 5. It is between the Suns and the Nuggets and the 76ers and the Celtics. So let me pull this up here and take a look at what we got. A little different competition today. It is winner takes all. So whoever finishes in the number 1 spot, if there's people tied, you'll split it up, but whoever finishes in the top spot will take it down. 12 picks today instead of 10. Sides, totals, player props. I put a lot of props in there. So there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of different things that you can pick from. So that should help with hopefully avoiding any sort of tie at the top. I've already made my picks, and I'm going to go through and talk about what exactly I'm picking and why I'm picking it today. To let you know, I've went 13 out of 20, I think, in the last 2 competitions. So competition here, all you got to do is finish in the top spot. You don't have to worry about beating me, but hopefully I can take that down and get some money back in my bankroll again. All right, so 12 picks here. I'm going to start with the 76ers and the Celtics and just run through my card. Let's see here. I'll pull up the props. My first one, I'm going to be looking at Malcolm Brogdon. And Malcolm Brogdon's points over 14.5. And I'm also going to talk about his rebounds. I'm doing two Brogdons here, 14.5 points, 3.5 rebounds over on both of those. So those are my first two props of the competition. 19.3 points per game this series, 5 rebounds per game this series. That's over 4 games. In the playoffs, 15.7 points, 4.2 rebounds. That's 10 game sample size there. And then against Philly this season, 16.8 points, 4.8 rebounds. Every one of those trends points to Brogdon having an over on the 14.5 and an over on the 3.5 rebounds. I would actually say that's probably my favorite bets, favorite props in this game of Brogdon and his role. He's been just a great sixth man, probably a starter on most teams, but Boston is loaded. And so I really like those two for Malcolm Brogdon. Moving into the next one, this is a guy that coming out of that last game, Jaylen Brown, he was hot early, had 12 points in the first quarter, and then had 3 field goal attempts, I think, in the last 12 minutes of the game. The quote after the game was, I guess I got to demand the ball a little bit more. I think Joe Mazzulla is going to do his job, his task to get him more opportunities. And, he had a little bit of foul trouble last game too. So when you're looking at 23.5, I'm going over. He's under 3 out of 4 games this series, but 3 times in this series he's had 23 points. So if obviously just one more point, he would be over in 4 out of 4. 25.4 points per game in the playoffs, 26 points per game at home in the playoffs. I just think in this type of situation, Jaylen Brown is going to come out. He's going to be aggressive. The Celtics need to win this game. And I'm going to roll with the over 23.5 in that case. Let's see here. Derek White under 2.5 assists. Let me pull that up here. Derek White, when we talked about Malcolm Brogdon, their roles are very different. And although they both play similar positions, here we are, Derek White under 2.5. That's plus money, actually, if you want to bet this on your own. But we will continue to go through and look at his role, just not producing assists, not a lot of opportunities, even though he is a guard. He's averaging 1.5 assist point per game this series and over the course of 4 games, 2.7 assists during the playoffs over the course of 10 games, and only 2.3 assists per game against Philly this season. That's an 8-game sample size. So I'm going under the 2.5 on Derek White. Next guy, moving over to the Sixers, Tyrese Maxey. I'm going to go under his points. Tyrese Maxey, over the course of this series, his role has also changed. And in game 1, where Joel Embiid wasn't playing, he had more opportunities to score. He went over this number. However, with Joel Embiid on the floor, his role is really more of a third option. And in some cases, Tobias Harris takes that, and he's really the fourth option. But he's been under in 6 out of 7 against Boston this season at 18.5 with Embiid on the floor. And over the last 2 seasons, he's went under 18.5 in 7 out of 9 games against Boston when Embiid's on the floor. Boston also has very long guards. They're very athletic. They're doing a good job of minimizing his impact at the rim with guys like Time Lord and Al Horford waiting at the paint. I just don't think he's going to have that type of game. It's really going to be Embiid. It's going to be Harden. And, there's going to be other guys that chip in. He may still have double-digit points, but I think 18.5, almost 20, that's just too high for a guy that's right now the third option in the Sixers. He's averaged 10 points per game in the 3 games since Embiid returned just in this series. So I love Tyrese Maxey's game. I think he's a great player, but I'm not going to roll with him going over 18.5. The last 2 props I have in this game is our old friend from Miami, PJ Tucker. Playoff PJ going into Boston. I think he's one of the guys that I trust will show up. Although his role is not going to be huge on offense, he's more of a defensive hustle type guy. Had a huge play at the end of game 4. But I'm going to go PJ Tucker over 3.5 points and over a half of assist. Basically have 1 assist. Here's his stats. 6.6 points per game since his first game in this series where he had 0 field goal attempts. 4 points per game in the playoff. 6 points per game against Boston this season. So he's not an offensive threat, but he's going to get over that number of 3.5. That's really, if you can get a PJ Tucker corner 3, you're sitting pretty with this, especially if it's an early corner 3. PJ Tucker with assists, he's a great creator. He doesn't do it as much in Doc's system as compared to when he was with Spoelstra last year, but he's been over that number in 7 out of 8 in the playoffs. He's averaging close to 2 assists per game in the playoffs, over in 5 out of 8 against Boston this season. All you need him to do is throw it into the big fella, Joel Embiid, one time, make it, and you got an ear assist. You're done. So I like that one. PJ over a half of an assist. And finally, I'm going to break down this last part of this is just the game. And I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics money line. I looked at the spread. If we go back to the marketplace here, the spread is 7.5, just to take a peek at the actual marketplace, not in the competition. Still sitting about 7.5. It's been pretty even back and forth action here over the course of the day. I think that's a pretty big number. I know there was a stat that I don't think Philly has ever won a game 5 when it's 2-2 or something along those lines, especially on the road. And I don't think that's going to change tonight. I think Boston gets it done at home. I think the next game, game 6 in Philly, is going to be interesting. But I think tonight the Celtics take care of business on their home floor. All right, moving into the evening game, Phoenix and Denver. I only have 4 props left for that one. We had 8 on the first one, so a heavy action early. I'll see, kind of how I'm doing in the competition pretty early on and whether I can actually compete to get this dub. But Phoenix and Denver, I'm going to go with Michael Porter Jr. over 2.5 3-point made. Let me get back to the competition on our Bettor Edge screen. So Porter Jr., 3-point made. Obviously, he's a sniper from outside. He's had a lot of opportunities. This is a plus money prop also, plus 120. He's had a lot of opportunities over the last 2 games, 19 3-point attempt over the last 2 games. For the season, he shoots 42%, 41.5% from 3. You do the math on that, it should see that he should make almost 4 if you do the math on 19 threes, break that down into a per game basis. I just think this is a low number for a guy that's going to get shots up. He's done this over 2.5 in 60% of his home games this season. I'm going to talk about that later, the home crowd in Denver, and I think how that's going to impact the game with another shooter on their team. But I'm going to go Michael Porter Jr. over 2.5 3-point made in this game tonight. My next one is Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon rebounds. His role in this series has really evolved into a focus on trying to slow down Kevin Durant. And obviously that's not an easy task, even for a great athlete like Aaron Gordon, but the under 6.5 rebounds, very juiced, minus 147. So I'm getting a juicy prop out of that one, but he's been under that number in 3 out of 4 games this series. The only game where he went over, he had 6 offensive rebounds in game 3. To me, that's an anomaly, and I don't think that's going to happen again. I think he's going to be focused on playing defense, keeping KD, contesting shots, keeping him out of the paint, keeping him out of the actions. And because of that, you're not going to be really crashing the glass because you don't want the opportunity that offensive rebounds happen, gets kicked back out to KD, things like that. So I think because he's going to be mainly on the perimeter guarding KD, his opportunities to get rebounds are going to be low, even though obviously Aaron Gordon is a great athlete, great defender, great rebounder. My next one on this one, my last player prop of the day is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's points. And I alluded to this earlier. I think the home crowd and shooters like this guy, KCP, I'm going to go the over on 9.5. It's a plus money prop. Over 9.5 points for KCP. He's went over that number in 3 out of 4 of the series, even though he hasn't shot it great. He's averaging 11 points per game at home this season. He shoots it better, almost 2% better at home from the field and from behind the arc. He averages almost 1 points per game more at home this season. So I think that home crowd, the Mile High crowd, are going to help Michael Porter Jr. I think it's going to help KCP over 9.5 points. And then my last one is really just looking at the game. And I talked about this when I picked the Celtics. I just think, again, in a game 5, tied 2-2, I think Denver gets it done. I think the last game, you had the Landry Shamits and guys like that stepping up. Could it happen again for Phoenix? Sure. But their guys are playing a lot of minutes. And I think Denver's going to get it done in this game because Jokic is playing so great. Jamal Murray is bound to bounce back. I think the shooters are going to shoot better in Denver. I think that altitude is also going to affect the Suns a little bit more than it affects the Nuggets. It's not like the air conditioning heat situation that you have down in Miami that ESPN wants to talk about. But I think that's to the advantage of the Nuggets. I'm not touching the spread at 6 points. If I were to force myself to touch the spread, I would go with both road teams, but the +6 and the +7.5, just because I think it's going to be competitive games tonight. But my last pick is the Nuggets money line. So that's my card. My 12. All you got to do is go to the competition, click on that NBA Tuesday winner takes all. You can get in there. It's $5 to join. The winner takes down the entire pot. It's a great opportunity for you to make some money. As I said before, you can use bettoredge.com/5RSN. If you use 5RSN-Pick'em, it will take you directly to the competition. You can still get that $20 from 5 Reasons Sports. Make sure you check it out tonight. Lots of great sports on here. I have not even peeked at baseball today. I've been trying to kind of limit it back a little bit because I'm not doing too great in baseball over the last week, even though I was having a pretty good start to that. You have futures. You can look in here. There's some people trying to put some money down on the Panthers, the Heat, Carolina Hurricanes. You got some player props. So lots of good stuff in there. Make sure you check it out, bettoredge.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the 5 Reasons Gambling Show.